So it's good that you are into B2B, and we have Anand and his team of his panel for sharing their thoughts and how to ensure that what are the specific role of technology in B2B space. I hand over to Anand. Anand, please introduce yourself. As you said, I would leave it to you.
Hello, as short and brief as possible. So I'm going to quickly introduce myself and let each of the other participants do the same, and then we'll get into the panel. So I'm part of Accel, which is a global venture capital fund. We've been in India for 10 years, globally for 30 plus years. India, we mostly start at seed and early stage. 70-80% of our investments start as the first check into either a Flipkart, Myntra, Taxi for Sure, which became later part of Ola, Freshdesk, and many companies like that, just to name a few. And we've been fortunate to be part of the journey of those companies, as well as the companies represented here today. So with that, I'll hand it over to Aniket to introduce each of the panelists, just give a quick background of what your company does, and yeah, we'll start with that.
Thanks, Anand, and good afternoon, everyone. So I guess just for a basic introduction, I'm going to just spend a couple of minutes telling about what Bizongo does and what my personal background is. So I'm a chemical engineer from IIT Bombay, and post a stint at a consulting firm and a startup before starting on my own entrepreneurial venture. I picked this particular space because I realized that the scope is immense, right? The very fact that, there is a lot of traction that has happened on the B2C e-commerce front that can be replicated here because the tech adoption has gone up. And that is when I realized that this is where I wanted to be. So whenever someone asks me to introduce my particular venture, this is what I say, that Bizongo is a B2B marketplace where businesses buy packaging and material handling products at regular intervals. So we stick to our basics, and this is what we try to achieve and strive to achieve on an everyday basis. We have customers, we have businesses coming and buying from us, right from a retail store to an e-commerce company, a logistics company. They're coming and buying packaging products from us and doing that at very, very frequent intervals. So this is the basic genesis on on which we function upon, and I'm really, really bullish about this particular space being really good for the ecosystem in the years to come. Yeah, just hand it over to Subbu.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ramasubramanian, co-founder of BlackBuck. I started my career almost the time when India announced GST for the first time, and that was 1996. And 20 years after that, we are still talking about GST introduction. Was with a consulting firm for almost 18 years before we co-founded, myself, Rajesh, and Chanakya co-founded BlackBuck together, which was last year. BlackBuck is an online platform for long-haul trucking, connecting the fragmented supply of trucking community directly with customers, which is organized as well as fragmented. So it's a more than $70 billion opportunity. We started last year. We have come up with the right product market fit, and we have scaled reasonably well. And the model works for both SMEs as well as organized customers. More I would actually detail subsequently, and I will just hand it over to Thiru for introduction.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm the co-founder and CEO of NinjaCart. To give a brief about myself, before starting NinjaCart, I was the head of mobile products at Taxi for Sure. I had around 6 failed startups before we finally landed up on NinjaCart. So in various domains, starting from education, food tech, and also a customer facing consumer app, okay, before we launched into NinjaCart. So what NinjaCart primarily does is we connect the farmers directly to the retail stores, restaurants, and other businesses. So we try to eliminate almost all the middlemen between the farmer to the retailer. So in India, there exists at least a minimum of 6 middlemen between the farmer to the retailer, and overall the margin in this value chain is roughly around 60 to 70%. That means when a retailer pays 100 rupees, the farmer gets only 30 rupees. We are trying to improve this ecosystem. So there's a lot of inefficiencies in the value chain when it comes to logistics, when it comes to handling of vegetables and fruits, because they are highly perishable. So we are trying to handle all these problems in one go. So that's what we try to do. So in short, NinjaCart tries to connect farmers directly to the retail stores. So adding value across the chain.
Great, thanks. That's hopefully let know where each of the panelists come from. So as investors, and you can ask most investors, we look for a few things. We look for very large market opportunities and outstanding teams with a differentiated product, hopefully tech-enabled product to disrupt that industry. So we've seen that in consumer internet companies, we've seen that in enterprise software companies. And when we study the business-to-business segment, right, it's a very large market, like as was mentioned when we set it up, it's 500 billion plus large industry, and most of the industries or subsectors don't use technology. So that is, you can see it as a challenge, but we saw it as an opportunity. And we're looking for different investments to make across various sectors, subsectors, right? And the other good thing is it's a very fragmented market. It's by different reports, it's anywhere from 20 to 50 million SMBs in India, right? That's a really large number, and a lot of suppliers also. If you look at any of these cases, very
amount of fragmentation on the supply end, because the packaging suppliers that we have are small, they're spread all across, they do not have channels to reach out to the correct people, only a very few trade exhibitions that they use. So that is where we identified where we could be present, solve the problem of access, solve the problem of disseminating the right amount of correct information, and also be able to kind of complete the chain and do logistics and payment as well. So it kind of all made sense, and we thought that packaging would be a wonderful, wonderful industry to start off from, where I know for a fact that I'll be having a lot of buyers across several channels, several industries, and also on the supply side, I'll be able to provide a lot of value addition. So to me, and I mean, an e-commerce venture can succeed only when you're providing value to both the sides. Yeah.
How did you pick packaging?
Yeah, so I mean, we spent a lot of time researching on several different industries. We tried our hands with raw materials and commodity products, and including something like chemicals, polymers, and we also had packaging products that we wanted to try with because of the reasons that I mentioned. And for some time, we realized that because the opportunity is so immense, you cannot sort of be very horizontal and target this problem. It is best that you pick a strong starting point, make sure that you yourself as a business, you are indispensable to the people who are using your product, and then carry forward. So on the commodity side, we realized that it is best to not have a complete end-to-end solution. But on the packaging domain, we realized that it is I mean, if I'm able to provide a solution where a person can come, look at the products available, make sure that his own customization and branding possibilities are there on the product he's purchasing, make sure he develops a sense of trust with the platform, with the product, and be able to make very, very seamless purchases. So all of it tied up together.
Great.
Yeah.
Subbu?
Yeah. So in our view, especially in manufacturing sector, when the value chain is pretty long and there are many players and fragmentation is there at every level, that is pretty much ripe for disruption. And the major change for us was the technological advancements. If you see our model today, where we are today, some of these concepts, it was actually tried out in the beginning of 2000 as well. But the advancements in mobile technology has really opened up lots of avenues for people like us. So this was the starting point for us to actually consider the BlackBuck model. So just to give you a background, the logistics cost in India is around $260–280 billion. That's the total size, out of which transportation within that is around 70%. And within that, the road transportation is 60–65%. So we are talking about roughly around $100 billion market. And within that, you have various bifurcations like long haul trucking, full truck load trucking, part truck loads, express, and all the other intracity elements if you include. Still full truckload, long haul trucking, it amounts to more than $70 billion. So for us, it was a very large opportunity, number one. Number two, highly fragmented and many players in the chain. So if you look at the customer and the truck owner, between them there are multiple players involved. A broker, a driver, a transport agent in that local area to negotiate prices on a day-to-day basis, and everything was working based on relationships, right? So the price discovery for the truck owner and also for the customer, it was not there or it was limited. So we thought it would be a good opportunity for us to deploy technology, bring people together, all the truck owners and the customers, and get the right price discovery for them. That would be a good business model. Hence, we got into it.
Got it. Again, how did you pick only the intercity trucking and why not the rest of the logistics?
You've been part of it. Yeah. So, it's the size of the business that matters, actually. So, it's a very, very large one. Out of 100, 70 is full truckload. Even if you look at 70, one thing that we are very clear as founders to clearly focus on one thing at a time and get that right. So we actually focus on these ugly open body trucks rather than anything else, right? So it's just open body trucks. That's the majority of the business, and we focus only on that. So size is the foremost thing, and secondly, the problems that were at that point in time not solved yet, that made it very interesting. That created an entry barrier for people to get in with technology, and we thought we could solve it. So these two are the main reasons for us to look into it.
Got it. You've heard the focus in one particular market twice already. So I think that's a really key. For most platform companies, what they don't realize is trying to go after 5 things in the first couple of years. That's probably what leads many of these platforms to fail. Whereas if you focus on one thing and do it extremely well in the first couple of years and you build a sizable business from that, then you can launch multiple things. So any of you thinking of platform businesses, key thing to take away to you, Thiru.
So the question is like, is it
why is
B2B ripe?
And you're particular in the context of what you're doing, why is it ripe for disruption at this point?
So I may not really agree whether it is ripe. So I have worked both on the B2C segment and the B2B segment. So NinjaCart initially started as a B2C grocery delivery company. Okay. So what I really felt was when we were doing B2C, right, there is a problem which we are trying to solve, and there are a lot of other problems, the ancillary problems which are essential to solve the core problem. Okay, so all these ancillary problems are solved by some other startups, or there exists an ecosystem which allows us to focus on our core problem. Okay, so let's say for example payment systems, okay, Google AdWords, marketing stuff, okay, or for that matter even the logistics, which is the delivery boys ecosystem that existed at that time. But when we pivoted to B2B, right, this ancillary ecosystem is something which hardly exists. Okay, let's say for example we need to put a warehouse, we need to hire laborers. Okay, there is no single point of contact where I go and say, I need some 100 laborers, can you get? We don't get that. We need to search, hunt, and get these things developed. So the biggest problem that we face in this B2B segment is these ancillary things which will help us solve the core problems that actually doesn't exist. So when you talk about logistics, we handle roughly around 100 Tata Aces, and we work with like 8 to 10 aggregators to get 100 trucks. Okay, so there is no single guy who can reliably give us trucks. There is no single point of contacts for laborers. Okay, so but on the funding part and other perspective, you see, right, it's really ripe. A lot of VCs are talking about B2B companies, looking at B2B companies. They have a B2B specific funds to invest in B2B companies. So the funding scenario is pretty good currently. So it has evolved and companies have started understanding B2B business. Sorry, funds have started understanding B2B businesses. But let's say, for example, the payments. So we don't go through traditional payment channels. We need to go and collect hard cash. So there are no banks are providing these services for us. So we need to deal with the hard way. So in those segments like payments, or for that matter, we need a lot of working capital. So banks are not really willing to look at startups to fund working capital. So those kind of problems are still needs to be addressed. So it's still a long way to go for the B2B segment to call whether it is really ripe to enter this segment. But there are a lot of problems, and a lot of startups have started solving this problem, particularly long haul logistics, which is a ancillary problem for us. BlackBuck is working on that. So yeah.
So you're saying from an industry perspective, so there are two things when you talk about disruption, is one is from an industry perspective. Is there a market need, right? So from that point of view, are there incumbent players solving it efficiently already, or there's no organized way of scale companies? So from that point of view, is there opportunity to disrupt. And then your point being, to actually execute, it's a lot of pain. It's a painful, yucky business, right, for lack of a better way of putting it. But if you look back, when Flipkart started, they had to do their own cash on delivery and everything. If you take any big company in India, they had to go through this growing pains, right? So I think I hear you clearly that, yes, if you want to do stuff, all the ecosystem does not agree. From that point of view, it's not ripe for disruption. But from an industry perspective, when you look at broadly agriculture and what you're doing, is there scope for disruption also? Just maybe a quick 30 seconds to.
Yeah, definitely there is a scope of disruption. If you see, right, the agriculture, particularly horticulture segment, which is primarily fruits and vegetables, is a $200 billion industry in India. There is nowhere technology is involved. Okay, nowhere. There's no technology. Everything is manual, from bookkeeping to cash transactions. There is no way the banking sector is involved. So a $200 billion industry exists without a banking system. Okay, so they are not into the ambit of the banking segment. So there's a lot of disruption that has to happen in this segment, particularly with reference to technology. So price discovery, price transparency, all these are huge problems which a farmer faces. So from a technology point of view and from a data perspective, right, there's a lot of things to disrupt. Just wanted to give a small example, right. In any city, if you take, right, the demand of fruit and vegetable is fairly constant, okay, because the consumption is fairly constant. So the demand is fairly constant. But why the prices go high and prices go low for vegetables? It's primarily because the supply is fairly inconsistent. It's not because the climate is bad or the produce is bad. It's primarily because the farmer doesn't know what other farmers are harvesting. So suddenly there will be a huge supply and suddenly there will be no supply for a particular vegetable. So this is actually a data problem. If you could let the farmers know what other farmers are harvesting, right, the price fluctuation can be stopped and farmers can be much more benefited out of this. So this needs a lot of technology and data play, and it's a long way to go, and there's a lot of things to disrupt in this space, particularly with data, technology, logistics.
Great, that's a good segue. Maybe let's talk about role of technology, products, data, and all that. How, in your particular segment, and we can go in any order, how are you using all this to, and what specifically are you doing with technology?
Yeah, so I think technology plays an extremely crucial role here. So firstly, I think the reason why we wanted to exist in this particular space was because the current methods of working seemed very inefficient to us. So for example, if a person wants to buy anything, so in my context I'll be talking about packaging products. So if he wants to buy it right now in a very completely offline world, he's just in touch with a trader who's in close geographical proximity to where he stays right now. So there's an access problem. Then when he asks the particular trader what kind of products he's selling, pictures are being shared on WhatsApp. He doesn't even know what the product specifications are, right? And he doesn't know whether, if he makes the payment, he's going to receive on time. The trader doesn't know whether he'll receive the payments on time. So there's, as Thiru put it correctly, there are a lot of problems, across logistics, across payments. But still, I particularly believe that the size of the opportunity is so immense, and the current, there are so many inefficiencies which exist in layers that the problem needs to be solved anyhow. So yes, product definitely plays a very crucial role here. And what we have tried to do is we have tried to make procurement extremely easy. So procurement needs to be very seamless. So a purchase manager, even in a big company or in a medium size or a smaller company, needs to know at what point of time the prices are changing, what is the quality of products that will be available to that particular person, be very assured that since the purchase is going to happen once in a month, once in a fortnight, in timely intervals, he needs to know what he's buying. And also, procurement is a very, there are a lot of kickbacks and a lot of inefficiencies exist there as well. So the admin or the person who's overlooking the division needs to have a lot of clarity. He needs to get a lot of data. He needs to see whether the purchases that are being handled by his procurement manager is being done consistently, whether he's receiving the best particular prices. That, again, the data play is very important. He needs to see it. So again, the technology ecosystem needs to be built around the current inefficiencies, and you need to keep kind of evaluating it, constantly innovating it, and make sure it suits the businesses.
Got it. Maybe also touch upon the role of smartphone penetration, that going up. How does that impact your specific businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So smartphone penetration, I would say, is extremely it's very important, because you as an entrepreneur, as a founder, can actually understand that tech adoption is increasing, but just I particularly believe that just because a consumer is going ahead and using technology on phone doesn't mean that everyone will. So there is such a high amount of hindrance on the part of our buyers to use a laptop or a PC or even a desktop, that making a paradigm shift to a mobile phone is very, very difficult for him. So let him get a basic flavor of technology. Tell him what what you're doing, right? So in this particular context, I would say communication is very important. So the people who are buying from you from time to time need to actually know what you're providing. It shouldn't just be a a plain white slate where the person just comes and buys and goes away, right? Just being sure that he's getting a best prices. So if your if your value addition is just pricing or is just information asymmetry, that what you're solving, you'll not be able to scale it. You need to constantly tell him that I'm building tech products for you, which is going to make life easy. Go to his place, show him what you can do, right? Since being in B2B, you'll probably have a sales team as well. So those things are going to play a very, very crucial role. But you can't make him forcibly jump to a mobile phone. But I mean, the smartphone penetration actually has given us a cue that I mean, there's an immense scope in the tech adoption side as well.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. As you talk about the role of technology, just touch upon both on the supply or demand side. Has smartphone helped you guys as well? Okay.
For us, the backbone is clearly technology, be it on the supply side or the customer side or our own operations. Without technology, we have very clearly seen that scaling would not have been possible at all, right? So I'll give you some examples. Thiru talked about certain things which are not there. And Anand also correctly pointed that, so that's an attractive point for us to get in and solve that issue, right? So from the payment perspective, how do I pay the truckers? Today, if you really see, most of the companies carry cash and distribute cash to the truckers for them to move from point A to point B. When we started also, when we didn't have the right solution, I still remember we used to trade really 3-4 days of holidays together. That would mean that a guy who's earning 15,000 rupees would be carrying 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs to distribute cash to the truckers, right? You are really tempting him to make mistakes. So we came up with the right solution. Today at BlackBuck, 95% of the cash disbursements, it happens through IMPS, completely automated. And truckers just took it, be it the owners or the drivers. They loved the solution, and 95% of the cases, it is actually distributed through IMPS. And technology has played a major role. So it's the trucker's account, our account, and the banking partner completely automated, and it happens 24/7. So what it means is, if a truck which is loaded late in the night, say midnight, doesn't have to wait till the morning to get the cash. It can leave late in the night itself, and that solves quite a bit of idling time issues. So that's on the supply side. Another example on the supply side is that the offline market generally operates during particular timings. It starts at 10 o'clock in the morning, goes till 1 o'clock. So the prices or the demand gets aggregated or bunched till 10 o'clock, and that results in artificial inflation of prices. In our cases, it's 24/7. The supply partner can look at the demand any point in time and take it, right? So there is an immediate benefit on this artificial inflation. If you look at the demand side, there was no clear price discovery for most of our customers. They had a transporter. Transporter had certain specific linkages with brokers. There ends the price discovery. Today, the demand of a particular customer is flashed on to all relevant brokers. If it is, say, Chennai, or a truck which has come from Delhi to Chennai. So it's not that I'm showing this to only the truck owners or the partners in Chennai, but I'm also showing it to the guys who are in Delhi. So the price discovery becomes much better, and the customer is clearly benefited. And this has been possible only through technology. When it comes to our own operations, lots of things can get slipped, from what happens in the head office to the real action point, which is the field. Here it is, technology has played a major role, especially the mobile phone. So once the orders that come from the customers, it gets flashed immediately onto the mobile phones of our people, operations executives on the floor, on the field. And that makes it really easier for us to operate with precision and accuracy. So from that perspective, technology clearly is the backbone. And with smartphone penetration, especially in case of drivers, we are going to solve a lot more problems for the drivers. Today, the trucks operate in particular lanes because of various reasons, and one major reason for the drivers not to opt for any other lanes is language or the food habit that he has. So if he is generally playing in, say, from south to west to Mumbai, and then if you ask him to go to, say, from Chennai to Kolkata, A, he would not know the routes, especially within Kolkata. B, the food also becomes an issue. But we can easily solve through technology. And also the issues, that compliance issues that he would face in each check post along the way, that this can be easily solved through technology. And with smartphone penetration, it is going to be much more easier for us to solve these issues.
Got it. Great. Thiru?
Yeah. Hi. So, to give a small perspective, right, we ship around 50 to 60 tons of vegetables and fruits every day, okay, and without having, you know, an item miss, without having any kind of, effect to the consumers, because we are primarily dealing with B2B consumers, so any kind of item miss is going to affect his business. So we do that with 100% perfection. This is only possible through tech. And also on the farmer side, if you see, right, the one thing which I talked about, primarily what the farmer is harvesting, when his harvest is going to come, all these things we track, we get the data through tech, and we process that, okay. So, and also on the logistics part, if you see, right, how many trucks to use, how the routes has to be optimized for better usage of the trucks, okay, all these things are perfectly automated through tech. Without tech, I don't think we'll be able to ship like 50 tons a day in a short span of like 6 months from our start of operations, okay. So we have seen tech taking various roles in our company, one from the farmer's perspective, another from the logistics perspective. We have truck trackings and sense monitoring of drivers, how the drivers, which routes they track, which routes they take, all these things are tracked. And also on the payment side, right, as Rama mentioned, that all our payments to farmers are pretty much automated. So what happens is the farmers are actually afraid of working with us because they are not sure whether we will give them money after purchasing or not. So this is a huge problem we faced, the trust problem, which was actually solved through tech. So what happens is he brings the produce to our collection centers. The moment we accept the item, weigh it and puts an entry into the system, an immediate IMPS that happens, and the farmer receives a message in his mobile that the payment has been done. So this is all possible only through tech, the trust issues. And even for the logistics guys, right, when a long haul logistics happens, when a truck from Gujarat comes to a warehouse, he only leaves when he makes the payment, and the truck might come at any time, and handling such huge volume of cash is going to be a huge problem, and particularly this is solved through tech. And also on the demand side, right, all our consumers have apps, so around 50 to 60% of our orders we get through apps. And also on the farmer side, we have like around 30-40% of the farmers use our app on a daily basis to discover the prices of various vegetables across markets. So he makes a decision whether to sell it to NinjaCart or in which market he needs to sell his item for better recovery for his produce. Okay, so throughout the chain, we have enabled the complete chain actually through technology. So if technology is not there, I don't think we'll be able to do this much of volumes.
Sure. You want to add something, Aniket?
Yeah. I just wanted to add a small point here. So just to kind of elucidate why technology is very, very crucial. So since at the end of the day, you're trying to build a B2B business, you're catering to businesses, you need to build a very high amount of stickiness to your platform, right? And there is no better way to do that than have a very, very strong technology, very, very strong product that you're delivering to your customer. So, be it for BlackBuck, be it for NinjaCart, be it for us. So, we are always trying to innovate as to what we are actually going to provide to the customer, what he's actually going to see on a daily basis. It can be through a mobile app, it can be through a web app, it can be through a desktop. But he should always feel that is something which is solving his daily problems, and there's no better way to deliver value to your customer and make sure that you become very, very important.
Got it.
Yeah.
Great. So how many of you are technology people in the room? So just a show of hands. So great. So most of them probably relate with what you're saying on technology front. So, and probably most of them know what happens in the consumer world in terms of building products as well as scaling them. You can do a lot of things, like Google has built a whole platform, everything. You can sell, get app downloads, you can target people through the web, you can do TV, radio, all these things to grow your business. These guys have been modest. Their businesses have scaled phenomenally, probably as much or if not more than consumer companies in short periods of time. They're less than 24 months old, most of these companies. So how is it different scaling B2B businesses in terms of sales, marketing, and any thoughts you can share how you have done it in your particular industry?
Yeah, so I guess scaling a B2B business, at least again in our context, has been very, very different. So when you're scaling a consumer business, you would want to ideally reach out to more people. The target group that you want to, there's no target group defined as such. You probably would want more people to be attracted through your Google ads, through your Facebook ads, come to your platform, see what you have to offer, and then be able to better that experience from time to time. But for us, if we probably just strive to run Google ad campaigns, we probably won't be able to target the relevant people who are important for our industry. So what we typically do is we sort of try to explore newer channels. So we attend a lot of trade exhibitions. We work with a lot of government agencies. So there are, there's the packaging association, there is the plastic association. I mean, those are the people we are currently working with, and tapping into the resources that are currently existing with our packaging vendors or with our packaging suppliers, making sure that we know who their customers are, going out and reaching out to them physically, making sure you are communicating to them through a lot of content, right? Emails, messages. So just, I guess, I won't call it, what consumer companies need to do, it's not blind communication, but it doesn't need to be as nuanced as it needs to be for us. And we need to make sure that we are reaching out to relevant people. Do not, you just can't throw money at this problem and make sure it's done. You have to constantly understand who you want to sell it to and keep innovating on that.
Great. Two of you, anything to add?
Yeah, so I see there's a lot of difference when it comes to scaling a B2C and a B2B company.
You've been in both, so
yeah.
Yeah.
So the major difference is in B2C, the consumers are ready to forgive you for some of your mistakes, whereas in B2B, it rarely happens because you're screwing companies and their businesses. Okay, so let's say, for example, when you're doing B2C, if a delivery is delayed or we miss an item, the consumer is okay and he might still come back and try. Whereas a B2B, he will never gonna give another try because once we make a mistake, it's a mistake forever. So when you're scaling B2B, we cannot blindly take a risk customer experience and go ahead with that. So we have to be perfectly sure that whatever experiment I'm doing, it's not going to affect my customer's business. Okay. So given that context, scaling a B2B is much more difficult than scaling a B2C. But the other flip side of it is like if you get one customer, you get a lot of. He's a big basket customer rather than a consumer who's like a small basket stuff. That is one. Other thing on the right, how to
talking about large basket size, right? People got like big basket is a different context. Okay, yeah, so good.
So the other thing is how to acquire customers. Okay, that is a great challenge because when it comes to consumers, you have a lot of proven channels to acquire customers. Once you get a product market fit, you just have to spend monies and various ways of marketing to acquire customers. Whereas in B2B, that's not the case. Discoverability is a big problem for us. Particularly, farmers are also a form of customers for us. How am I going to reach out to a large set of farmers and tell them about NinjaCart and bring them on board? So as Ankit rightly said, right, we used to work with various governmental bodies, banks, let's say nursery seeds, so where we get a lot of our customers at one point. So as a B2B company, right, if you want to scale, the one thing which you have to look at is where is your customers going to come in a concentrated form. Let's say, for example, if I'm talking to a retailer, a mandi is a place where he comes every day. So maybe to attract these guys, I have to go to mandis and maybe catch them there. Maybe if I'm talking to a farmer, maybe I go to a nursery and I put a shop there, he's going to come there, I'm going to catch him there. So my advice or my piece, my learning is like figure out the points where you have concentration of your customers, and if you are able to figure those points, then you will be able to acquire these customers much easily and make your products much more discoverable to them.
Got it. Anything to add? How many of you have questions? Just a show of hands. Okay, just all those who have questions. We're going to come to questions. I need a sense for, we have about 10-15 minutes. Okay, there's 3-4 questions. We'll come to you. Yeah, just 1-2 more. Yeah, go.
No, so I would like to look at it from the challenges perspective and also from the go-to-market perspective. In B2B, one thing that we clearly see as a big challenge is from the working capital point of view, right? So whoever is getting into this space from day one will have to design something where working capital is 0. That's the way it has to be designed. Otherwise, you are going to get into a web which would be very difficult to come out, right? So
sorry, for the pure techies, like how I was 10 years back,
right.
What does that mean, working capital?
So there is a buyer, there is a customer, you are running the marketplace and the platform, and if the money is routed through you, you would be paying almost immediately to the supply side, whereas the demand side will pay you after 30 days, 60 days, or sometimes even 90 days, right? Especially the organized demand side, they have a stated policy to pay after 90 days or even 120 days. So that makes it extremely difficult. So one will have to come up with the right solution, while that market size is really big and we cannot ignore, but there are opportunities for us to find the right solution and get that right. So I would definitely highlight this point that in B2B, when you're conceptualizing itself, you should actually look at the working capital piece very closely and see how you are going to steer clear from this particular problem, right? And also in our case, if you look at the trekking industry, the technology deployment was very, very low, so that gave us an opportunity. But how do even if I get him on board in terms of technology adoption, how do I keep him engaged all the time, right? So from that perspective, creating the entire ecosystem, say with fuel or with tolling systems or with any other ancillary purchases that you would be making, that makes it very easy for you to actually get them on board and retain them. So that's very critical for us to scale. And on the customer side, many of them would not have actually used technology. It's just only for their ERP execution part they would have used, but beyond that, you would see lots of old timers sitting there, and to make them come to this platform, to make them see the benefits of it, there are lots of change management activities involved. So from both these sides, it will have to be, the product fit therefore will have to be really good. And once that is there, it is also, especially in the case of organized segment, it becomes much easier for you to scale, because referrals, it's a closed community, and then referrals, it always helps, and with that you could move very fast. When it comes to the fragmented demand side, as both of them mentioned, the trade associations are being there at the right place, especially a cluster-based approach, it has helped us a lot. And that way we've been able to scale faster on the fragmented side as well.
Great.
Yeah, the working capital problem that Subbu was mentioning. So currently a lot of our customers come to us and say that that's a policy. I mean, we are going to pay 90 days later, 120 days later, no matter what. So I'm not going to change it for you. So, and a lot of these customers are getting open credit in the market from the vendors that they purchase from. So there is no, sort of written documentation done. The vendor just knows he's going to be paid 90 days later. And in a lot of cases, the vendor's entire business is actually based on 2 or 3 clients that purchase for him. So it's a very dangerous scenario for the smaller SMEs, but they have to kind of live with it right now. So again, the way to solve it would not be replicating this online, because there's in no way can you better an open credit scenario. You can't establish the same thing online. Rather, what we are trying to do is we are trying to talked to a lot of banks, NBFCs, lending institutions, trying to establish a credit financing solution for our buyers with low amount of documentation being involved, with low amount of KIC evaluations being involved. But I think that is an interesting aspect to discover. And again, as Thiru was mentioning, since a lot of startups are not working in this space, the ancillary problems remain unsolved. So that is why it is a bigger challenge than probably a consumer startup. Yeah.
Got it. Great. For a few questions from the audience, maybe you'll start there. Yeah. Why don't you?
Having a challenge moving to current technology and the mobile. Well, we heard from Thiru that even farm. So, question is there a dichotomy there? Is that a legacy that's holding them back, or is it something else? That is one question to you. Let me ask a couple of questions.
Sorry. Let's stick to one question per person. Sorry. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Thank you for your question, sir. What we have done is we have understood that, as Anand was mentioning, focus is extremely important. Being able to know that this is the problem you're solving right now. I mean, your overall context might be, something else that your dream situation is something else. But what you're solving right now is something that you should stick to. What we have realized by talking to our customers is that there is a significant amount of challenge for them to even go out and, send an email. Right? I mean, leave alone using smartphones. The only thing they do on their smartphone is chat on WhatsApp. I mean, that's a hard truth, hard fact. So, just going by that, we try to establish strong communication channels with our customers through WhatsApp, etc. But a full-fledged transaction solution for our customers on mobile right now did not make a lot of sense for us at the start. Something that we would want to achieve a few months or probably a year down the line. But we wanted to give them a basic flavor of our tech. We wanted to give them a basic flavor of our product on a desktop interface before they could go ahead and start transacting on mobile.
Great. Yeah.
So, a problem we are solving for him. So, most of the farmers faces this price transparency problem. Which market, what is the price of the SK which is growing? So, when you go and tell, hey, we want to make this information available to you, we see a lot of farmers buying their mobiles, learning how to use the mobiles and trying to use it. So, it works the other way for us because they need this information to enhance their income. Okay, so that worked very well for us. We tell them, so the basic pitch for them is like, hey, we're going to tell you everyday prices across markets so that you decide where to sell your produce. And also, we'll also tell NinjaCart prices so you can decide whether to sell it to us or not. So that helped us, to penetrate into the farmers much more easily. No, English is not a barrier because if you see, we are primarily dealing with horticulture crops, which is like vegetables and fruits. Most of our vegetables and fruit farmers are fairly good to go types. So,
I just want to
sure.
Here is that on the supply side, generally B2B, I would like to point. On the supply side, the engagement and value proposition, especially with the smartphone kind of an engagement, it's far higher on the supply side compared to the customer side. Customer side, you need to address through different technological aspects, not necessarily a smartphone. How do you help him plan better? How do you actually, give him the right set of data, pricing, and all the other things, which doesn't have to be really based on a smartphone. Whereas on the supply side, the smartphone engagement is very high, and they get the instant benefit also. So therefore, the adoption is much better. This is our experience.
So this is probably true across industries. Initially, phones were given to them, right? Even many of them, but like if there is money involved, if there's more income, people are willing to change their habits and start using it on the supply side. So I'm just reiterating that. You had a question, yeah.
We all are in good competition space. So my question specifically is, based on the
people in the market, primarily leaf and farm tasa. So the one, when we started, they were around 5 tons, 10 tons a day, but they're still stuck there, whereas we have grown past them doing 50 tons. So this is primarily through tech this is primarily through tech, because we handle everything to tech and we enable everything to tech. That gives us a lot of competitive edge over the others to go past them. So
specifically in the, say, transport supply industry, most of them have the basic features covered. So how do you go about convincing the vendor in such a case to make that shift if he's already using a technology?
So in our case, when we started, we were a bit lucky. We were one of the early movers, so we were lucky. And when you or in such a situation, it is very, very important to also create that barrier, improve the gap by running faster. So one key thing that we have in our mind always is that there is work as if there is no tomorrow, right? And keep running really, really fast, and that helps you to just elongate that distance. That's number one. Secondly, still, even in a very competitive scenario, the way you could actually solve the issues. For example, one key differentiation in our case, all three of us are practitioners, have been practitioners of logistics in the past. So our ability to see the problem and come up with the right solutions probably could be the right answer. So keep creating differentiation at every level and keep running fast. This is one way to actually keep the competition at bay. And once you reach the scale, then it allows you to do lot many more things as well. So scaling fast has always, and from the investor side, we've been lucky to have someone like Anand, who has always, right from day one, has highlighted this point that scale fast, right? So that helps.
They'll scale fast without me. So this is just, he's just putting me on the spot. Just kidding. Any other questions here?
I just want to ask, three of them, that at what stage did they realize that they wanted to raise investment, or when, I mean, what was that stage when they realized they want to go with an investor like you?
Sure. When's the right time to raise funds?
Yeah, actually, I think so the good part about working with a venture capital fund is not only the money. I mean, it's a lot to do, as Subbu was mentioning about how Anand was telling when how you should scale faster. So it's because of the many such instances with e-commerce players, with say logistics players of. They've seen that those same instances play out probably 3 years before, 4 years before. They know the scenarios, so they can give you the right strategic advice at the right point of time. So, I mean, obviously, if you want to scale your company, initially you will be needing a lot of capital. That can come from various sources. I mean, it is probably, you need to be placed at the, I would say it's more important in being in front of the right person at the right time, making the right pitch. A lot of it happens serendipitously rather than you wanting it. So that is important. And also, this main factor has to be kept in mind, that is not just money. It is also about them telling you about these scenarios and advising you from time to time of what they have seen happen before, and you could, maybe take those strategic calls.
But is there any right time to fundraise? I think that's your question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one thing is that your metrics need to be very, very strong. So, for example, there are, so being a platform player like us, we are tracking GMV, our gross volumes, and our margins on a very, very regular basis. And at times we realize that, okay, there are inflection points of growth that are happening for us. So, for example, when we were raising our seed capital, we knew that we had established a basic proof of concept that at least some part of it was working. A few buyers were transacting. We built a very, very strong supply side first. So we knew that this is the right time to probably, step into that next level of growth and make sure that, transactions keep happening. So you have to kind of feel that from within. Yeah.
2 points here. Engagement, we believe that it has to happen almost immediately, because the benefits that you get out of engaging with a good investor is tremendous, right? Be it, for example, the focus point we discussed, it happened on day one with our meeting with Anand, that, focusing on one thing is very, very important. So that engagement is very, very important. If you have the right product, right business model, and the right team, it helps you to, I mean, you can engage almost immediately with the investors. That's the advantage you would have. In terms of fundraise, once the basic concept has been proven, then the investors, good investors, are also ready to look at, helping you right at the beginning itself. And we believe that it has to be at the earliest point in time for us to really think with an open mind and not have any constrained thinking. It's important to look at the earliest point in time. I won't be able to clearly pinpoint. Once the product is, you've proven the basic concept, it has to be almost immediate.
Great, thank you. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, so I'm sure there are more questions. We'll be outside and you can ask us one-on-one, right? So the key takeaway is India B2B, it's a very large opportunity, maybe not ripe for disruption from the point of view of execution, because there's a lot of pain that you'll have to solve yourself, but that's what as entrepreneurs, hopefully you get excited to do. right? So use technology for scaling. Without that, it's not going to work because there have been many attempts before. It's not worked in the past. Smartphone is a key enabler, might not, at least on the supply side. Marketing and sales is very different from B2C, so you'll have to learn it, concentrate, focus on trade shows and industry gatherings where you can sell. So all these are differences. And from an investment point of view, if you think you have the right team and have a really good market opportunity, right, and you have probably early products or whatever, any clear MVP, minimum viable product, I think that's a great time to engage with investors. So with that, we thank you all for coming and thank the panelists for their time, and hopefully you gain something from this. Thank you.